The story I'm going to tell you today is not a very pretty one. It's about my childhood, thousands of children who've been into orphanages, institutions across Australia. Mum placed me in the orphanage when I was 4 years old at Norcia for education. At the age of 8, she removed me and my older sister. She saw that we weren't getting an education. The moment that we left the orphanage, there was a state alert for the West Australian Police to apprehend and arrest us. 8-year-old, 10-year-old, never committed a crime. We were arrested, we were handcuffed, and we were taken back. The only time I can remember being with Mum and Dad is 3 months of my life. 2 years after we were removed, Mum passed on. We were in the laundry working. Reverend Mother came in to call myself and my sister aside. What she said to us, I don't think I ever forgave her. Your mother's dead, get on with your work. This is coming from a so-called Christian person. Many times as a child, I tried to take my life. It was easy. I could have thrown myself down the stairwells. The orphanage wasn't a very nice place to be in. We weren't orphans. We had family. We had Mum and Dad. The reason we were taken away, the colour of our skin. We were placed in that orphanage and forgotten. Now, during my time, there was some 110 girls in the home. We did laundry for the old mission. There were the Aboriginal boys, about 60, 30 nuns, 60 monks, 205 white boys. Now that's a lot of work. We were only children. That work had to be done. Everything had to be ironed, sewn, put back in the laundry bags and taken back to where it came from on Thursday morning. So we had 3 days to do all that work. There were 5 of us girls ironing. I used to do the ironing. I don't iron today, I chuck my clothes in the dryer. The big machine that we put the sheets through, if the sheets are too damp, the machine will get stuck. So you got to open it up to get the sheets flowing again. My sister put her arm in it to get the sheets. The girl on the other side didn't see her arm in the machine. She closed that machine on her arm. It had taken all of this off. She had one big burn from there all the way down. They didn't take her to a doctor. They sat her outside in the sun for that burn to dry. I used to watch my sister cry. It was so painful. The laundry was part of our everyday life as children. We went to school until we turned 13. From 13, we were in the laundry. A lot of the girls in the home were in their mid-20s, late 20s. There was one girl who stayed in that home for 44 years. She had nowhere to go. We did olive picking for the monastery. Take a good look at that picture. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, olives are ripe June, July. Have a good look at what we're wearing. We're kneeling in the wet grass. No jumpers. One little girl got a short sleeve jumper. We suffered with chilblains, stone bruises, abscess, you name it. We were never taken to the doctor. Now, we never wore shoes. Only to go to church on Sunday, we were dressed up. The rest of the week, we walked around bare feet. Norcia, if any of you have been there, is a very gravel place. We suffered a lot with stone bruises. Because our skin was so hard underneath our feet, they couldn't get a needle in to let the yucky stuff out. When it got infected, what the nuns used was a razor blade to cut away the hard skin. This little children I'm talking about. And then they'd crisscross it. Across on and squeeze all the yuck out. I got a scar in the middle of my foot. I still got it today. One of the girls had an abscess on her breast. They opened that up with a razor blade. The girl fainted. We were never taken to the doctor. I remember 3 girls that were brought down here to Princess Margaret's. We never saw them again. Don't know if they passed away down here or what. We were never told. They talk about putting you in a home so you can learn hygiene. We lived in these clothes that you see in the picture. We had a bath once a week. About 8 or 10 girls bathed in the same water. We put those clothes on. We had a knickers and a dress. That's about it. No shoes. We lived in those clothes from Saturday to Saturday. Nunusia was a very rich farming town. They had a lot of cattle, sheep, piggery, chook run, you name it. They killed about 8 to 10 sheep every day except on a Friday because of the amount of people on the mission. We had a lot of Aboriginal families who lived on the mission too. Our food, if you can call it food, I wouldn't give it to my dog today. We got the scrap meat in the orphanage. We got the heads of the sheep, the flaps, and whatever was scrap meat. Now, summertime, you got the big blowies around. They brought the heads over to us. We had to clean those heads, chop the horns off, wash the maggots off. That went in a pot for our breakfast in the morning. No veggies, sheep head, salt, water. We got a ladle full of that water in our plate, a dry slice of bread and a mug of tea. Fridays, being Catholics, we weren't allowed to eat meat, so we had either had porridge or bread boiled in milk. I looked forward to that. I think that was the nicest meal we got for breakfast. The porridge, weevils and worms right through it. We had to fish all that out. We had nothing to eat. There were many times us kids went to the scrap bin from the nuns to fish out something to eat. Back in my days when I went to school in the 40s, they had the old inkwell and the pen, and of course, as kids, we blotted our paper. Punishment for that, we knelt on the floor in front of the class, both arms outstretched. No, we didn't get the cane, we didn't get the strap. We got a brick, 13 and under, brick on each hand. The nun went around with a sawn-off piece of dowling or a mop handle, broom handle, whatever it was. Now you got a brick there, someone hitting you here with that stick under your elbows and round on your ankles. Kids walked around with swollen joints for days. They'd pick anything up out of the wood heap, the nuns, and flog you with it. I mean flog you. Mum took us out of there because she saw that we weren't getting that education. Now, education came later on in my life. After I had my children, my firstborn, 1960, I had twin daughters. I was healthy, my children were. I started wondering why I was kept in hospital longer than a few days. I ended up being in there for 2 weeks. Towards the end of 2 weeks, I had 5 visitors by my bedside. Now, when Aboriginal women went into hospital, you didn't go in a normal hospital ward. were out on the veranda. My babies were born in June. I was out on the veranda with louvers on, wind coming through the bottom of the veranda. Okay, these 5 people came to my bedside, and I was wondering what's going on. Okay, I had 2 doctors, a matron, and 2 police officers. We'd like to know how you're going to cope, this is the matron talking, when you leave the hospital. I said, well, I'll be fine. I've got a husband there who cares for me. I think it'd be better if we took the children from you. Repeat. My mother was taken, I was taken. They wanted to take my twins. Standing beside my bed saying, oh, you're only going to take them home and they'll die. My 2 girls are grandmothers today. I met and married a wonderful man who taught me a different way of living, how to forgive. 1994 saw the year that changed my life. I woke up one morning, 2 o'clock in the morning. I was sobbing my heart out, and my late husband said to me, what's the matter with you, Cobb? All I could say to him at that time was, I want my mummy. I want my mummy. He said, I'll tell you what, I'll take you back. Mum's buried in Newnorth here. I'll take you back tomorrow and we'll go and visit her grave. So we went back the next day, and it was like I was going to a funeral for the first time in my life. A mother whose name I didn't know until 30 years later. Found out her real name. Mother Darling had 9 different names. She was placed in so many institutions, baptized into so many religions, and given so many names. The only name that we knew her by was Chickabiddy. I cried all the way up there and back. When I got home, he said to me, I do believe if you write things down, it will help you. It took me 3 weeks before I can find file and paper, and I started writing. I've written a file full of my childhood hurt. I wanted to further my education as my children grew older, went to school. I couldn't help them with their homework. So I put myself through college. So I went to college, sat there for 6 months and pulled out. My husband said to me, no, you go back. The following year saw me go back and graduate. I graduated with the residential childcare certificate, which enabled me to help children. A lot of people ask me, why do you go and work for these very people, the community services? I don't know what they call themselves today. It used to be native welfare during my time. Why do you go and work for these very people? My answer to them was, if I could help one child make it in this world, it'll be worth it all. Thank you all for listening.